Our guest this week is a TV and radio host and now also a podcaster. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up to Sam O. So our next guest is a TV and radio host. So sa mga long-time followers niya, you might remember her sa kanyang stint sa ETC. After which, she had this radio show with Sam YG, Sam versus Sam. After that, she went to TV, QTV, and she had a show called Living It Up. Then on Lifestyle TV called Modern Girls. But most of us know her sa kanyang phenomenal stint sa Good Times with Mo and Nico sa Magic 89.9. But right now, she's launching a podcast, The Narrow Door, which will premiere on July 20th. And we'll talk about that more later. So she's now a very outspoken Catholic. And earlier this year, I messaged her kasi I think her conversion story wasn't heard much. I don't know kung may platform ka na pag-usapan mo yung conversion story mo. Kaya minessage kita. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the lovely Sam O. Hey Sam!
Thank you.
Wala akong palakpak ka na yun. Annyeonghaseyo.
Thank you so much. Annyeonghaseyo. Alam mo ba, can I just say, before anything else, as a Korean, like, it's so fascinating to me that ang dami ng ganyan. Yung, kunwari, pupunta ako ng 7-Eleven, tapos, the cashier there will notice na I'm Korean, biglang sasabihin niya sa akin, annyeonghaseyo.
Talaga?
Or, yung gano'n, na parang, oh my gosh, ano ba? Ito, nangyayari to?
Pero ilang years ka na sa Philippines, di ba?
Oh my gosh, ano na ba? May 30 plus na.
30 plus years. So that's
baka 34?
Most of your life.
That's right. I mean, let's not do the math or anything, no?
Filipino ka na actually.
No, so, I feel very at home here. So I grew up here.
Oh, of course. Did I cover everything dun sa intro ko sa'yo? Or I'm sure mahaba.
I was gonna say, thank you so much for that very extensive recap of my career. Pati yung mga nakalimutan ko na ay naalala ko. But I have to say, it is my honor to be here on the first and only Filipino podcast on conservative values. So,
kinlame ko na yan, Sam. Sorry kinlame ko na yan. Baka mamaya iniisip mo, parang, ay, naunahan ako ni Jay Aruga dun sa title na yun. So, kinlame ko yung title na yun. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. What's keeping you busy these days?
In these days of the quarantine and the pandemic. Uy, grabe.
Parang busy lahat no? Sa bahay.
I know. Pero grabe, medyo nagulat ako when you said you got in touch with me earlier in the year because it's already mid-July. Can you imagine that?
Yes, Sam.
And half the time, no, more than half the time, we've been indoors.
Parang minessage kita, hindi ko lang kung January or February.
Totoo, January ba yun?
I think so. Kasi naalala mo, we were planning na either before Lent or Easter yung guesting mo dito sa podcast. Yeah. So,
and then I told him, alam mo Jay, I'm working on a podcast. Gusto ko mag-guest ako pag ilo-launch ko na. So ito na, ilo-launch ko na siya next week.
Thank you. Buti na alala mo ako. Thank you.
I was thinking about this for a long time. Sabi ko, oh my gosh, ang tagal, nakakahiya. I told you what I told you, and I was taking so long. But thank you for being patient.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, thank you. At least nag-push through. So this might look like an interview, Sam, but we'll just have a conversation.
Sure.
Kung may question ka sa akin about the Catholic faith or whatever, or I'll try to answer the best that I can. Okay?
Are you a convert?
Cradle Catholic ako, but nag-convert ako sa atheism sometime nung 90s. And karamihan usually karamihan ng nagko-convert sa atheism, hindi sila nabigyan ng good catechesis. And dumating sa point na question ko, why am I even believing this anyway? Siguro dahil parang tinuro lang sa akin ng parents ko, ng school. But when you think about it, parang wala siyang masyadong at that time. So naging atheist ako. But nagkaroon ako ng epiphany. Kasi one time nandun ako sa UST kasi ako, and dun sa sa isang school supply shop sa UST. I just tried na mag-shoplift.
Ano? Oh my God!
Nag-shoplift ako na And alam mo kung ano yung shinoplift ko? Isang pirasong papel lang. Typewriting. So bumili ako ng typewriting. Siguro 4 pieces. Tapos tinry kong kumuha lang ng 5. So ganoon lang kasimple. Pero nagkaroon ako ng epiphany, Sam, na parang teka, if I can get away with this nang walang nakakakita, parang there's something wrong. Nag-bother sa akin nung time na yon is nakapag-shoplift ako nang walang guilt. Because nung time na yun, I don't believe in God anymore. And na-bother ako, parang there's something wrong here. Parang pag nagagawa ko to nang walang guilt, parang there should at least be something na dapat. So yun yung story ko. And hindi ako nag-convert kagad into theism noon, pero parang na-plant yung seed sa akin into converting. Kasi after that, parang 18 years pa bago talaga ako naging practicing Catholic. And by practicing, I mean, yun nangungumpisal constantly. Madalas akong mangumpisal. Ngayon. So yun yung practicing. Yun para sa akin practicing. Kasi yung iba, Catholic by name lang. Sisimba. Then after that, parang halos wala ng anything Catholic-y sa buhay nila. So that's my story.
Wow, okay. I did not expect a shoplifting story.
I'm so ashamed sa time na nag-shoplift ako dun sa isang papel na yung isang papel na yun.
So basically, parang you had that guilt and you felt like...
Hindi ako na-guilty, actually. Yun yung dun ako na-bother. Nag-shoplift ako without feeling guilty. Dahil alam ko, but that time, na there's no God. I strongly believe na there's no God that time. And what bothered me is hindi ako nag-feel ng any guilt.
So how does that connect to you finally thinking, wondering, maybe there is a God?
So that time, I said na sana dapat may God, but hindi ako convinced pa nun, but I was struggling. And it's a long story din sa akin. May point na parang 18 years sabi ko 18 years nag-struggle ako bago maging fully Catholic. Pero may na-meet akong guy who's very into St. Thomas Aquinas. I got to the faith ng sa reason, true reason. Kasi I believe may ibang tao na they got to the faith through feeling it. I applaud those people dahil ako medyo long journey yung pagdating ko sa faith.
Mm-hmm.
So yun yung story ko. So
ako naman
okay, sure. Anyway, so bibigay ko na yung backstory ko kung bakit nandito ko sa show ngayon. Okay? So I met you, Sam, nung nasa ETC ka pa. So
yes.
Hindi ko lang
as in starting talaga.
Starting ka pa lang ba nun?
Out.
Talaga.
Oh, this is super early in my career.
So may band ako, Sando yung name. We were shooting this music video. Sino sa aming dalawa yung title. So kung gusto nyong i-search yung Batang Samo.
Nako.
Nandun yun sa YouTube.
Ang alala ko lang sige.
Kung gusto lang ma-search. Wala naman difference yung Batang Samo sa Samo ngayon. Halos.
Ang dami kayo.
Talaga?
First of all, I just remember my cheeks were huge in that video. I didn't...
Pinanood mo ulit?
Hindi ko natignan. Parang na-trauma ako. Ayoko na siya tignan. But I do remember working on that video, of course. And that was very early. Mm-mm. As in, I think I just got the ETC job.
Yep.
And shortly after, I remember kasi I think our directors
Si
were
Jason
the
Tan.
same. I think
Jason Tan. So shout
he was
out
the
kay
director
Jason
of my
Tan.
show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So
Who would have thought, my gosh, something like 15 years later would be sitting down talking about
Oo
Catholicism.
nga eh.
Diba?
So years after, so sikat na si Sam dahil sa radio show,
Super. Joke lang.
nothing less than the Good Times radio show with Mo and Nico. So yun lang naman yung naging show niya. Yun lang. Yung
Big deal ba yun?
ewan ko, hindi ko lang kung big deal yan eh. Parang medyo big deal eh. So we're fond of that. Yung tatlo kayo ni Mo, Nico, and Dio. For me kasi nasubaybayan ko yung Good Times. Mula pa nung kay Mojo tsaka kay Andy. So ganun katagal akong listener ng Good Times. But I think it's safe to say na yung time yun ni Nico and Mo, yun yung peak. yung one of the best, if not the best. At least for me At least for me. So
I agree. And then okay. Hindi pa parang hindi alam ni Jay na this is my sense of humor. Oh my gosh, baka akala mo sobrang.
Hindi listener ako ng Good Times kaya alam ko na yan yung sense of humor mo. And I myself hope na yung version na yun ng Good Times would never end. Because I can see the time na para sa akin yung peak ng ng Good Times. And maganda yung chemistry nyo. I can see na sobrang tiwala na sa'yo ni Mo, which is very rare sa mga co-host niya. Parang he lets you call the shots sometimes. Yun yung what I see as a listener. Yun yung nakikita ko.
Actually, I think what happened was Mo mellowed down.
Talaga?
You got older and you mellowed down.
Okay. Pero as a listener, yun yung nakita ko. Parang he lets you call the shots. Especially yung case nung yung episode with Baron Geisler.
The infamous.
Infamous episode. And at that time, parang he let you decide kung you'll still go on with the interview or not. Parang ikaw yung
kasi wala naman siya dito di ba? Ako naman yung nandun.
Parang may hazard sa buhay mo yata nung time. Kasi nasa studio.
You can't call the shots, exactly. I'm the one who's in the studio and he's across from me.
Okay. Before we talk about your conversion, pag-usapan mo natin yung experience mo sa Good Times. How was it? How was it?
It was so much fun. Definitely a highlight of my radio career. I mean, kasi, to be honest, sa morning show hierarchy, in the market of, our show, that is basically as good as it gets.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was such, I felt so lucky to be there, working with Mo, who, obnoxious as he is brilliant and hilarious. And we did get along quite well, especially off the air. Kasi yung persona niya on air, medyo iba dun sa persona niya off air.
Talaga.
And of course, Nico, who is like a younger brother to me. Again, very talented, driven, young guy. And it was so much fun.
Sobrang nakakatawa ni Nico. So, parang hindi siya masyado na-take ng credit sa pagiging funny niya. Pero isa siya sa pinaka-funny na sa Good Times.
Oh, and very smart, who also has a podcast now.
Talaga.
I would plug it, but I forgot the title. Oh my gosh, Nico, I'm so sorry.
Pero si Mo, speaking of Mo, siya yung nag-pave ng way sa atin sa pagpa-podcast. Because yung Good Times podcast niya, it's one of the first, hindi ko alam kung meron pang nauna sa kanya, but it's one of the first podcast dito sa Pinas.
Pioneering talaga
siya. So, like I said, nung time na yun, I really hope na yung version yun ng Good Times would never end. But something struck us listeners. So it was announced that you were leaving Good Times, and it broke our hearts. Nalungkot kami noon. Sam, bakit mo ginawa sa amin yun, Sam? Actually, kaya kita ginest para lang i-guilt trip dyan sa ginawa mo.
Oh my gosh. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. Hindi nga talaga. That's the question.
It broke our hearts. Pero nung una, ako mismo, hindi ko alam kung bakit ka aalis. because it doesn't make sense to me. Dati, wala ka namang hints na magko-convert ka sa Catholicism or not. Iniisip ko nga baka New Agey thing yung papasukin mo. Was something New Agey. It was parang you're into, tama ba? You're into yoga before or something. So akala ko, this is just another New Agey thing. Baka may nag-invite kay Sam pag pumasok dito. Pero, nakita ko yung mga IG pics mo. You're doing the St. James walk. Ano yung full name ng walk na yun?
Camino de Santiago.
Ayun. Okay, Camino.
Way of St. James.
So, way yung Camino. Santiago.
The way, yes.
Okay, all right. So, what made you do it? How did you learn about it, by the way?
Well, I first learned about it through a friend kasi she had gone and walked the Camino de Santiago. And for her, it wasn't a religious experience. So, ang kwento niya lang sa akin was how, it was like the best trip ever. Ang dami niyang na-meet na sobrang interesting na tao from all over the world. It was just a really amazing experience and she highly recommended it. And basta ang dami-dami niyang masasayang kwento from this trip. Pero, when I heard about it, parang wala naman sa radar ko yung mga ganyan eh. I just took it as okay, siguro nga, maybe, because I do like to travel, and so I thought, okay, maybe one day it would be a nice thing to do. Pero, yun nga, when I announced on Good Times that I was leaving, that was already maybe about 6 months. No, a year, over a year. Kasi I left for the Camino in 2018, and my conversion started around 2017.
Oh, so nag-start ka na pala ng conversion mo by 2017. And I was assuming the whole time na nag-convert ka, Sama. Hindi ko alam, baka mamaya baptized Catholic ka pala nung bata pero nag-lapse lang or...
I'm not a cradle Catholic. I was baptized when I was 10 years old. My mom was the only devout Catholic in our family.
Okay.
So parang pinabaptize niya kaming lahat. Pero, siya lang talaga yung nagpa-practice. Ako, wala akong masyadong alam. Even if I went to Catholic school, ang understanding ko sa Catholic Church and its teachings, our practices, hindi siya gaanong clear sa akin. And I wasn't very interested.
Parang hindi nga pumasok sa akin na magko-convert ka kasi medyo baka mamaya at some point sa Good Times medyo you criticized somehow.
Oh, what did I say? Criticize the faith? The faith?
Hindi man siguro yung faith. Something sa organized religion. Critic kayo ng organized religion.
Yeah, that sounds like the show. Okay.
Yeah. So kaya hindi ko na isip na mag...
Not to say the show was, bad or whatever.
No.
Because,
I'm not saying that.
He had very strong opinions on that show. And Mo's very controversial. Like he likes the controversy and stuff like that.
Actually, parang ngayon nga ang norm is parang you have something, may grudge ka sa organized religion. And
totoo.
Sa ngayon parang yun ang norm. And medyo parang out of the ordinary yung pag medyo faithful or something.
It's countercultural is what it is.
Dumating sa point na ganun, di ba? Parang lalo na sa West.
Oo naman. I mean, I think the Catholic Church teachings are very countercultural. The world tells us to go about life and relationships and whatever aspects of my life a certain way, but the faith will tell you very different things. But before I get to that,
going back sa kwento mo, sorry, interrupt kita.
Okay lang. It's okay. So, nasa na ba ako? Ikaw kasi.
Sorry. I'm a bad host.
No, you're not. Sorry.
So nandun ka, sabi mo na discover mo yung a year before the walk, nag-start ka na ng conversion mo.
Yes. Okay, so what happened was 2016 was such a difficult year for me. I turned 36 that year and I was single and I said, you know what? I think I want to get married and have kids. I want to do the whole family thing. So I started to date in earnest, meaning, I'm now auditioning husbands, right? But things did not go the way I planned or wanted. And I was just very, very heartbroken that year. And so, seeing as how things were not looking like they were going to go as planned, I froze my eggs. And if you're not
Yeah,
familiar
I'm
with that,
familiar with that story.
oh,
Yeah. You froze your eggs.
I froze my eggs, yes.
Yep.
And then, but in the middle of that year, kasi nga, I was going through such a hard time emotionally and in my personal life. I was kind of starting to seek God without really realizing it. But what happened was I heard very randomly from one of my cousins who was a Catholic. Sobrang hindi kami masyadong nag-uusap nun. Pero biglang message siya, nangungumusta. Tapos sabi ko, eto, I'm doing okay, but, I want to settle down, but it's not as easy as I thought it would be. Tapos sabi niya, tumatawa siya, and she's like, ay nako, alam mo ba, God's doing that para mag-pray ka. Tapos sabi ko, ano pinagsasabi mo? Anong pray? So sabi niya, eto.
Ganun ka-inosente, hindi mo alam ibig sabihin yung word na pray. Kung ano.
Hindi naman. Pero like, anong pray? Like what am I supposed to pray?
What's this pray thing that everyone's talking about?
And I mean, tsaka hindi, kasi nga, hindi ako talaga religious. Anything, I would call myself agnostic prior to this experience. Kahit na nag-Catholic school ako at lahat-lahat. Ang belief system ko, feeling ko may something, pero hindi ko alam kung ano yung something na yun. So my cousin introduced me to this, I guess it's a devotion is what it's called. It's a year-long prayer. It's St. Bridget's 15 prayer devotion. So every day you pray these 15 prayers for an entire year. And then at the end of this year, you can ask for something and it'll be granted to you. So you can see how, it's a very shallow level na transactional. Like, sige agad, gagawin ko to. Tapos ito gusto ko. Yung ganun, di ba?
Yeah.
So I started that, and then I also started praying the rosary. Basically, I just was turning to something. Kasi I was realizing that okay, this is not something I can control. I feel I was heartbroken, and I needed some comfort. I needed to kind of make sense of what was happening. Kasi talagang that year, all my relationships like fell apart.
Ako, hindi na nababanggit sa any radio stations or sa mga newsprint exclusive na Sam O Revelation.
Uy, nag-share naman ako.
Ay,
like kina brother mo, sa feast, ganyan. Pero totoo, I mean, it's not something that I really have talked about very often kasi it's so personal. And I think it's really just now that I'm really finding the courage to share this, because the more I share it, I'm also hearing from other people that they're encouraged by this, and how wonderful that my experience can be helpful to someone. So ayon, and then so I'm continuing to pray. Things do not get better. In fact, they get worse. So one day, early 2017, I was in the middle of a rosary, and I just felt like this overwhelming sense of joy and peace in my heart, when obviously in my life there was no reason to feel like that, because like I said, things had gotten worse. But I can kind of relate to what you were saying earlier, because I think this is what you mean. Na in that moment, I felt that, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. I don't know why I'm feeling this, but I am feeling this. I think it's from God. This is a good thing. Pero ayoko ng blind faith.
Tama.
Ayoko ng feeling lang.
Tama.
Kasi nga, my feelings are not reliable.
Tama.
In my life, I've done some really stupid things kasi ang decision ko based on my feelings, diba? So, yun ang naging trigger para sa akin na, okay, I think I want to know what this faith is about. Ano ba ang tinuturo ng church na to? So, syempre, that was 2017. Ano bang ginagawa natin? We were just talking about this. Nag-YouTube ako.
Okay.
Buti na lang, a lot of ministry is now happening online. We live in the digital age, a lot of people now are evangelizing online. A lot of good material is online. Thankfully, I landed on people like Bishop Barron. I landed on, Ascension Presents. Matt Fradd, all
My
these
favorite kasi
women.
Matt Fradd. Yeah.
Oh, and all these like female speakers, mga, Jackie Angel, and,
Mm.
really empowering, beautiful, courageous, smart,
Yes, yes.
logical
Saka,
women and people who were talking about the faith. And I was like, I was so drawn to the moral teaching of the church. And
mm,
ang sobrang na relevant sa akin was the moral teaching about our bodies,
mm,
how if we have a creator, then obviously we have an intention and a design. Our
mm,
bodies are
mm,
supposed to be working a certain way, and
mm,
it's all related to the church teaching on sanctity of life and
mm,
abortion, premarital
mm,
sex, just all of those things.
mm.
And IVF too, of course, which is why
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
end I decided not to pursue that.
I was
Um,
about to parang awkward nga itanong sa yung tungkol sa
okay lang.
frozen eggs. I was thinking sa mind ko kung tatanong ko ba yung frozen eggs, but you brought it up.
Tanong mo!
But you brought it up. Tsaka you brought
Yeah!
IVF up. So since minention mo na. So anyway, continue. Sumingit lang ako dahil.
So I was just basically, the more I was finding out about why the church taught what it taught, I was just falling in love with the faith so much. And I said, okay, you know what? I think I want to give this a shot. Hindi pa siya yung parang, okay, sold na ako. Hindi. I want to try practicing this. Ano bang magiging itsura ng buhay ko pag in-apply ko tong lahat sa buhay ko? What if I did start going to mass? What if I did start going to confession? What if I did start dating people the way God wants me to date, or at least what the church tells me? And I found myself feeling very joyful and free. And I think that's one of the misconceptions about the religious life, is a lot of people think, I know when you're religious, you can't do anything fun. You can't, parang napaka-constricted ng buhay, ang daming rules, ganyan-ganyan. I actually find it to be the opposite. I feel so free. And I think, that has to do with, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Tsaka parang true joy yung nararamdaman mo eh. Sometimes kasi merong paradox into being free, like doing whatever you want. But once you get addicted to something that you want to do, magiging siya yung master mo at ikaw na ngayon yung slave. Nakakala mo free ka pa, pero hindi na, parang addicted ka na dito. So yun yung isa sa And sometimes akala natin rin-restrict tayo ng church into to doing what we want. Pero sometimes inaano lang tayo, parang warn lang tayo against those things. Dahil yung sin of idolatry, para sa iba, parang mababaw yung sin of idolatry na wag ka lang luluhod sa harap ng statwa. Pero ang Catholic Church, siya lang yung religion na para sa akin na-explain yung sin of idolatry ng tama, and parang akma siya sa time ngayon, which is what we need. Na sometimes when you get addicted to something, akala natin freedom is doing whatever you want, but once you get addicted to something, yung dopamine level mo ma-attach dun sa thing na magiging addicted ka, whether video games, porn, or whatever. Ito na yung magiging master mo at ito na yung kokontrol sa buhay mo. So yung restrictions ng church is actually for our own good. And ito yung restrictions ni Jesus and God. So it's for our own good.
Absolutely. Actually, yung concept ng freedom was really mind-blowing for me, and was a really big part of my conversion experience as well. I actually heard Father Mike Schmitz talk about this on Ascension Presents. And he was talking about freedom is not being able to do whatever you want to do. It's doing what you ought to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that mean? I was actually able to make the analogy in my life, because I used to really like to drink. Right?
Yeah.
I'm Korean, okay?
Lagi kang nano sa good times doon. Lagi kang tinutokso.
I mean, I used to be a drinker.
You had a phase. Yun yung sinasabi mo sa good times. You had a phase.
I had a phase. Okay.
A phase.
So, ang ginagawa ko dati, when I would go out, and I used to like, partying and going out and stuff like that. When I would go out, I would drink too much. And so the next day I'd be hungover and I would just suffer through this hangover, and that's not fun. But I would keep doing this. And so in that situation, who is the master and who is the slave? Right?
Yeah, tama.
Freedom is saying, you know what? If I have this extra drink right now, I'm going to be hungover tomorrow and I really don't want to be hungover. So I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
That's freedom.
Yes.
And I was just like, oh my gosh.
Na mind blown.
Diba? Oo, talaga. That was really like one of the early things that I learned. I mean, I don't know if that's like Catholic doctrine or whatever, but basically
it's asceticism. Asceticism siya. Parang abstinence. Kaya meron tayo sa
self-control.
Lent.
It's a fruit of the Holy Spirit.
Yes,
self-control.
Kaya meron tayo sa Lent, parang may nag-give up tayo ng something we enjoy, which is not necessarily sinful. Kasi yung pag-drink naman, not necessarily sinful. Hindi naman siya
in moderation. It's
in moderation.
fine.
Hindi man siya pinagbabawal ng faith ng simbahan. Pero yung sobrang to a point na siya na yung God mo. Dumating yung point.
Yeah.
So ikaw na yung magiging slave and ito na yung master. And hindi tayo nabibigyan ng credit as Catholics na yung religion natin is an intellectual religion actually. Kaya na-mention mo yung mga si Bishop Barron, everyone na intellectual religion siya ever since the beginning. Kasi meron tayong mga saints na talagang mga heavyweight na philosophers. Saint Thomas Aquinas, si Saint Augustine, everyone, marami tayong saints na nakapagsabayan sila sa mga atheist philosophers.
Yeah. And whatever questions you have about the faith, I mean, trust me, you're not the first person to ask me.
Totoo.
Diba?
Minsan darating time, akala mo parang, naisip ko to against the faith. Aha! Catholicism.
Diba?
I got you. Hindi mo alam. Many years ago, baka mamaya 4th century pa, or going to the 15th or 16th century, meron ng ibang Catholic na nag-isip nito.
Exactly. And the Catholic faith is a repository of all of these people who have asked questions, and there are answers. And the sad thing is, yun nga, I think marami, kasi siguro, especially in a country like the Philippines, we grow up with the faith all around us. And so we go through the motions since bata pa tayo, diba? We go to mass, we do this and that, not really digging deeper. Bakit pa natin ginagawa to?
Medyo
Ano ba
take
ang
for
reason?
granted ng ilang
medyo.
Pilipino, yung faith. Kasi parang sa iba medyo naging routine na lang. But I think moving forward, kailangan nasa sa magulang ang pag-explain ng faith.
Absolutely.
Sa mga bata. Kasi meron tayong potential maganda yung country natin one of the last bastion one of the last bastion ng Catholicism talaga.
Totoo.
Lalo na dito sa Asia. Pero medyo na-take for granted natin yung faith. And
I remember. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think itong new media, yung internet, I think this is a good venue para ma-explain ng mabuti yung faith. Kasi I think before, nung wala pang internet, mukhang dun masyadong naging marami yung conversion from Catholicism to other religions. At least ngayon, pag may tanong ka, search lang, Google lang. So I think
there are many good resources out there, lots of great ministries. You just really have to go and look for them. So eto nga, kanina pa yung question, ba't ba ako umalis? Hindi pa
Sorry,
natin
nasa sidetrack tayo. Lagi tayo nasa sidetrack. What's the question, by the way?
Ba't ako umalis? Ba't ako nagkamino? Diba?
Oo nga. Okay. Go ahead, Sam.
So yun yung process na parang habang nag-good times ako, habang lahat ng yan sa radio, ito na yung nangyayari sa private life ko. Na parang, ito pala yun. So, I was starting to change so much. Di ba yung a show like Good Times, parang a lot of our personal lives are part of the show. yung kwento namin na kung ano nangyari sa amin, ganyan-ganyan.
Mhm.
And at some point, kasi nga hindi ko siya kinukwento kung na ganun nga yung nagiging experience ko in my life. And I was
Hindi halata sa
through
sa
a
radio show
conversion.
na malungkot ka
Hindi
pala.
talaga.
Hindi halata. As a listener, ako sasabihin ko talaga hindi halata.
So at some point, I was like, I was in such a public space, but going through something, pretty like life-changing in my private life. And I felt like number one, when I finally decided that Catholicism was something that I truly wanted to practice, I felt like I needed to sort of step back from my life and examine what my life was in that moment. What did I want to change? How did I want to, really practice this faith? And then it was getting difficult for me to be in such a public space while I was going through something like that. So I decided to leave, but also because I wanted to go on the Camino nga. And if you're not acquainted, the Camino is a pilgrimage, and so there are many routes, but the most popular route is the French route, which I did. So you start on the French side of the Pyrenees, and then you walk 800 kilometers to a town called Santiago. So I took 6 weeks with a backpack to walk this thing and just meditate on, my life and God and mga ganyan.
Before nun, yung sa start pa lang, ito famous story to, yung nakawan ka habang
oh my gosh.
Pero ang ganda nung post mo nun. Actually, yung nanakawan ka. Hindi, maganda yung quote mo. And hindi ko lang kung saan mo kinoto. Medyo famous na quote to. Yung ma-realize mo lang yung ganda ng Catholic Church from the inside. Tama ba? And medyo literally and figuratively yun. Kasi nasa loob ka ng simbahan. Tapos makikita mo yung mga stained glass window. Yung lights doon. From the inside mo lang siya ma-appreciate.
Correct.
So, yun yung literal version nun. Pero yung figurative is ma-appreciate mo lang din yung Catholic faith pag nasa loob ka na instead from an outside perspective.
Yep.
Ilagay mo yung quote na yun nung time na nakawan ka habang nagro-rosaryo.
Grabe, no? Grabe sila. So, I was in oh my goodness, what is the name of that church again? It's a famous church.
Hindi man Notre Dame.
That's the one.
Yung nasunog. Wow, grabe.
Oo, yung nasunog. So, kasi nga, before I started the pilgrimage, since I was starting on the French side, nag-tourist muna ako. So, I was in Paris. And then, of course, one of the landmarks that you have to visit, as a Catholic especially, is that church. So, I decided to go. So, feel ko siya, ganyan. Sabi ko, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here. I'm in a prayer room. So, I sat down, I put my bag beside me, and I prayed the rosary. And this is such a dummy tourist mistake. I mean, everybody warned me about pockets talaga. But I just did not imagine that they were inside the church as well. I thought, these people would have a shred of a conscience and at least leave the people in church alone.
Walang
Grabe, walang patawad.
Walang sign doon na bawal lang magnanakaw pumasok or something. Yun yung
Yeah, because that would work.
That would work,
Yeah. So, yun. Nakapikit ako, I prayed the rosary, and then I stood up, looked around, admired all the stained windows, and then on my way out, there was a nun who with a booth asking for donations. So sabi ko, you know what? Why not? I was in such a romantic, like, I was just so high from being there. So I was like, I will make a donation. So I reached down to my bag and my wallet was gone.
Oh.
And I was like, what is going on? So yeah.
But Sam, yung post mo na yun yung first hint for me that you're converting. Nung binanggit mo na you're praying the rosary and the stained glass, everything, Catholicism from within. Yun yung first hint ko. And it all made sense now para sa akin why you're leaving good times.
Yeah.
That time. Yung first hint. And medyo parang manong yung puso ko, parang nag-jump. Parang, what? She's converting. Pag may nagko-convert, medyo parang napapatalon ka eh.
We get excited for them.
We do, yeah, we do. Kaya
Yeah.
nga. Kaya that's what I felt that time nung ano. Okay, so Camino, did we finish answering the question?
Kaya ako umalis. Ayun, that's why. Ayan, finally! Nasagot
Yes!
siya! Yay!
Nasagot na.
Ay,
So
finally,
after that, how's
44
everything?
minutes.
How's everything, by the way, after that conversion? Nung pagbalik mo na?
Actually, the Camino, leaving the show and going on the Camino and being away for 2 months was an exercise in trust for me, really. Because if I thought about my career, it was not a good move at all. I also did, this industry is very, the people are forgetful. Diba? They always say like, oh, dapat you're visible, ganyan. So, I was on a great radio show, which was, bringing in a lot of hosting jobs for me. And, aside from the fact that it was a fun thing to do and I love those guys.
Yes.
As a career move, it was not a good idea. And being away for 2 months to walk this thing was also just not a good idea career-wise. But for me...
Akala ko mag-quit ka sa day 1 pa lang nung nanakawan ka eh. Parang, this is a... forget about it. This is a mistake.
No. I mean, it sucked. I have to say, it really sucked. But yun nga, that friend who actually told me about the Camino sorted everything out here. But yeah, I mean, when I look back on that experience, it was basically me. It was an exercise in trust. I just felt like, okay, I mean, if God is a God that provides, and that's such like you hear that all the time, right? But it was me basically saying, okay, God, I think I want to do this, and I think you definitely want me to do this. So I'm just gonna quit my job and go away. And I'm not sure what's gonna happen, and I don't know what I'm gonna come home to. I don't know if I'm gonna have a job waiting for me, but you're God. I think you can handle it. So I'm just gonna go do this.
That's a big leap of faith. Very big leap of faith. Yeah.
And sure enough, I came back, and of course life has challenges, but I feel like my faith has been so instrumental in, helping me weather those challenges. And even this time of the pandemic, I mean, oh my gosh, my faith is probably the thing that is, helping me kind of weather this time. And I'm sure you too can relate to that as a Catholic.
So, okay. At least natapos natin yung first question. And now we are at the end of the... So, ano pa yung stumbling blocks mo when you were converting? Nagkaroon ka ba ng mga... There are some beliefs na you had a hard time accepting. Nabanggit mo na yung mga moral teachings, but everything dun sa moral teachings, medyo nag-fall into place ba sila almost instantly, or medyo may mga times na these things, I still have a hard time accepting this? Or
today?
Maybe until today, yeah. Or nag-fall into place naman siya.
Ako, I mean, not so much today, but when I found out about IVF, kasi parang hindi ko pa alam siya, hindi ko pa alam yun eh, nung
time
beginning.
Nung time na yan.
Oh. And then it was later on.
Yun yung gusto kong itanong sa'yo, but tingin ko magiging awkward, so nag-hold ako na
hindi
itanong sa'yo.
Hindi siya awkward.
Okay.
Hindi talaga. Oo. So, yun nga, medyo nalaman ko later na. And I was like, oh my gosh, this means I can't do this. Syempre, I mean, I was banking on them. Pero when I found out, I knew na, okay, I'm not gonna do this. I can't do this. Pero I took my time, and then I decided to go to confession, and I told the priest na nga, yun, I did this, Father, but you know what, Father, to be completely honest, parang feeling ko hindi ko pa siya ma-let go. Hindi pa ako ready. I know mali, and I'm not gonna do it. Pero hindi ko pa siya ma-let go. And the priest was like, it's okay. It's like when you need to forgive somebody, hindi mo siya basta ma-forgive sometimes. You need to take your time, and you'll get there. And so it's okay. So after that confession, I got out of the confessional, and I was feeling very, light, and I love confession.
Ako din.
It's so freeing and peace and joy, diba? All those things.
The moment na lumabas ka sa confessional, para kang merong crystal ball na ayaw mong mabitawan dahil
Oh, exactly. Like, I gotta keep this state of
keep
grace.
this thing. Parang
Yeah.
ganun. Yun yung
Don't ruin it, Sam.
Don't
Yung
ruin
parang ganun.
and yun yung mga sacraments, yun yung truly life-changing sa buhay ng Catholics. And may mga sins, quote-unquote, sins talaga. Ako, na nung bata ako, mga ginagawa ko, and I never thought na kaya ko siyang hindi nagawin at some point in my life. So, yun yung ang gusto ko lang sabihin is effective yung confession. Yung talagang perfect contrition na
Totoo.
And minsan nakikriticize tayo ng Catholics na parang napaka-convenient sa atin gumawa ng kasalanan, isang confession lang para sa kanila wipe out na daw yung kasalanan mo. Parang hindi, napaka-inconvenient sa ating Catholics yung confession dahil una maghahanap ka ng pare. Lalo na ngayong pandemic, ang hirap maghanap ng pare na pagkukumpisalan. Kaya,
so true.
So, medyo, actually, contrary to what they're saying, medyo mahirap yung confession. And hindi siya magiging perfect contrition kung balak mo rin siyang gawin the moment after mo mag-confess.
Exactly. And God sees our hearts. Kung yun ang intention natin as we're going into the box and, we're just like, I just need to get this off my chest, and then we're back to square one and doing it again. That's not the purpose of confession.
And we're required na talagang kailangan magsisi tayo dun sa sins natin because otherwise, hindi tayo pwedeng tumanggap ng communion, which is another sacrament na truly helpful, I think, sa pag-transform. So, yun yung ano ba yung question ko? Sorry, stumbling blocks. So,
dun sa IVF.
Oo nga.
Oo, dun sa IVF. Kasi may kwento yun eh.
Oh.
So kinonfess ko na, ganyan. I was feeling bad. Kasi nung I froze my eggs, I was very public about it. Yeah, there were articles written about it. I heard from a lot of women asking me like, oh, this is so amazing. Where did you get this done? Ganyan. So I gave information to these women, and I felt horrible about that. So I was like, okay, I think I need to do something concrete to, remedy this, what I've done. Not just go to confession and be done with it, but I felt the need to do something about it. And I thought, okay, maybe I should do an Instagram post, as you do, right? In the social media age, you post about it and announce, I'm not doing this anymore. Not too long after that confession, someone randomly messaged me on Instagram, and she was a reporter for a broadsheet, and she was asking me if she could interview me about this whole egg freezing thing. And I said, oh, you know what? I recently converted to being Catholic, and I'm not pursuing this anymore. And she says, oh, are you willing to talk about that? Because I'm actually including a priest in this article. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my chance.
Okay.
This is my chance to really publicly revert this decision. So I did the interview, and the whole time, what I was thinking was, oh, finally I got a chance to do something for God, But later on, my mind changed, and I realized that even that was a grace from God for me. Because God is God. He doesn't need anything from me. But, it was, I received that as, it was a mercy from Him and a grace from Him, because I guess He could see that I was feeling horrible about it. And so even that was ultimately for me. God doesn't need anything from us, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
We need Him more than He needs us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And baka mamaya, he just used that moment para to change your heart actually sa whole thing. Okay, and napakabigat ng pinag-uusapan natin.
Ba? Pero hindi naman.
So, let's now move on to your podcast.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's.
So, we're excited. sa
I am.
podcast.
I'm really excited.
So, what's the title of your
Actually,
podcast? Nabanggit ko na pala kanina, sorry. The Narrow Door. Napaka-hypocrite. Tatanungin ko, nabanggit ko nga pala kanina. Tell us something, bakit naisip mo na mag-podcast and what is it all about?
well, I guess as I got deeper into my faith, I felt like I wanted to apply, whatever skills I had to do something in this religious space. And so I thought of doing a podcast, and the angle that I took was ecumenism, because earlier this year, the CBCP actually declared that this year was going to be the year for ecumenism, interreligious dialogue, and all those things. And I was luckily invited to host one of those events, and I thought it was great. Like, I was on stage with, a Catholic person. With Cardinal Tagle.
Oh, yeah. Yung nag-Korean heart kayo dun sa post mo.
Ay, despedida niya yun.
Despedida nga niya. Napag-Korean heart mo siya.
Oo. Tapos it was like an ecumenism event talaga.
Okay.
They're promoting, the Catholic Church is promoting dialogue among the many Christian denominations and the many religions. And I think, first of all, I thought that was a great initiative, because I also noticed that there's a lot of division in the church, in the world of Christianity. I mean, diba, ang dami-daming denominations ngayon. And I mean, we're all Christians. At the end of the day, we believe that, Jesus was divine, and he was the Son of God, and he was the Messiah. And so now I thought that was an interesting angle for a podcast. So I decided to call it the Narrow Door, as a reference to, the life of faith.
The narrow gate.
Door. Yes, the narrow gate, right? It's the narrow and difficult path.
Yes.
And so I decided to invite a Catholic lay preacher, si J. Paul Hernandez of the Feast, and Pastor Dennis C. of Victory, and my wild card denomination. I have instructor Harold Resho of New Heaven, New Earth, Shincheonji Church of Jesus. So we just basically sit down, and we're all Christians, and we tackle a topic. Like, next Friday, we're going to talk about how are we supposed to read the Bible. Because we all seem to read it differently. We all seem to interpret it differently. Mga ganun.
Oo nga. Very interesting. Excited ako sa podcast mo, Sam.
Thank you.
So is July 20, Friday ba yan? Every Friday yung release?
July 20 is Monday.
Monday, okay. So, ang release nyo is every Monday? Or...
Yata. Basta ang launch niya Monday, July 20.
Okay. Then for the next episode, kasi once na mapakinggan namin yun, ma-excite kami kagad. So, you have to...
I'm releasing the first 3 on July 20.
Okay.
Tapos, I think we're going to do once a week, and then we'll see how, the response is. And if we feel like we can do 2 a week, then we can do that. But for now, yes, on July 20, we're launching 3.
All right, Sam. You had a great time dito sa the J. Ruga Show.
This was fun.
Yeah, thank you for being a blessing, Sam, and for sharing everything that you shared.
Thank you so much. I really, to this day, I'm really so amazed how, God works. And every time I'm guesting or talking to somebody about the faith, and they tell me like, oh, I feel so blessed. I'm the one that feels so blessed. Being able to, share my story and just be here. It's been amazing, and I'm just very happy. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam, for dropping by July 20th, the Narrow Door podcast with Sam O. Thanks, Sam. Okay, bye. Bye, guys. At the end of the day, it will be night. Goodbye.